Welcome back to Bloody Elbow. Today I am joined by the Baltic Gladiator, Mr. Modestas Bukauskas. My man, how have you been doing? It's been a little while since we caught up.
Yeah. It's been a minute, mate. Always a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, been doing good. As you can see by the extremely chiseled, skinny face, just been putting in the work, training hard, and yeah, getting myself prepared for another battle.
Yeah, let's go straight into that matchup, right? A big one. I know that you were kind of positioning yourself for a top 15 guy based off of this winning streak that you're on. What was your reaction to getting Paul Craig instead?
Sorry, mate. It was just getting a phone call there. Give me one sec.
No worries.
um, yeah, no, just like kind of move the screen a little bit.
Oh, good.
So to be honest, I think this couldn't have played out any better. You've got a very high level opponent. He's done so many things in the light heavyweight division. Obviously, he moved down to middleweight for a little bit, and now he's moved back up. But he's like a mainstay in the light heavyweight division. Been in the top 10 for like many years, so you couldn't really ask for a better matchup. And yeah, battle of the Brits. Battle to see who takes the top spot at heavyweight in the UK. And it's a great fight for the fans. And like I said, a big win here will definitely stake my claim to fight someone in the top 15. And like I say, this is the best way to test myself, to prove myself, to get that matchup that I ultimately want.
I feel like in some ways, Paul is kind of like the next best thing you could have got outside of a top 15 in
Yeah,
terms of the fact that everyone knows who he is. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He's been in main events. If he hadn't have gone down to middleweight where things didn't work out for him, there's a chance he could be in the top 15 anyway. So it does kind of feel like if you weren't going to get a top 15, they've given you the next best option, but also I think the fact that, like you said, Battle of the Brits, it makes it a bit more exciting for the European
yeah,
fans just to see you two guys get matched up.
yeah, 100%. Like I say, he's a very reputable guy. A very tricky sort of game that he plays, and it's caused problems for a lot of people. And having finished two former champions as well by submission, so he's very dangerous. Obviously, I don't take this matchup lightly, and yeah, I definitely think it's going to be an amazing fight for the fans to see.
When you look at an opponent like Paul, everyone knows where his skill set is. And like you said, he's had some setbacks in the UFC, but he also holds some of the most impressive wins you can have in the light heavyweight division, beating Ankalaev, beating Jamal Hill as well. Like, how do you prepare for a guy like that who even, I mean, the current champion, was caught in his grappling skills? Like even the very best fighters in this weight class who have gone on to achieve great things after losing to him, they've struggled with that as well.
Yeah, I just got to do what I do best. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, play towards your own strengths, and play to their weaknesses. Essentially, we're just going to take it to him. Do you know what I mean? I understand he's very dangerous. I understand he's got a very high skill set in many areas. I mean, even some of his striking, you can see. He's got a good knowledge, and he throws some flamboyant stuff as well, and so he's got good skills everywhere. So you can't take him lightly anywhere. But yeah, of course, as I say, I'm gonna be playing towards my strengths in this fight for sure.
Have you ever had any interactions with Paul in the past? I just thought because you guys have been in the UFC for a decent amount of time at this point, and have you ever crossed paths with him on like a European show or anything like that?
No, we haven't. It's funny because I feel like this was a fight that was a long time coming. It was sort of I was wondering when they were possibly going to make a fight like this happen. Obviously, he's been doing very well. Like I say, being higher up in the rankings, so it probably would have been a little bit longer for me to sort of get to that stage. But finally they made the clash happen. So I knew it was going to happen at some point. But it was just a case of when, and ultimately it's happened now. So yeah, I think this was where two paths were eventually going to meet at some point.
The obviously, I was speaking to you quite a lot at the time when you first started training with Tom Aspinall and the rest of those guys, and I think that a lot of people will talk about that when they talk about the current win streak you're on and this kind of uptick in form over the recent times. When you look back at kind of where you were at before that, if you could go back and kind of speak to the past version of you before you made that move and before this win streak started, is there one thing that you would have kind of wish that you knew or wish that you did sooner in that regard?
Uh, just to be more disciplined and focused. If you want to be a champion, you've got to train like one. Not to say that I don't train like one, but every aspect of your life has to be geared towards being a champion, acting like a champion, training like one. Just how you approach the game, like even being around Tom and all the other high level athletes up there. You just take inspiration from these guys. You see the way that they're living their lives, the way that they conduct themselves in and outside of the cage, and it just shows. You know, it's all good to train hard, but all the other pieces of the jigsaw puzzle have to fit. And I definitely feel like I've matured in that sense. Some people mature a little bit earlier. For me, it seems as though it's happened a little bit later. But sometimes you need to have some harsh realities and harsh lessons in order to actually take those things from it, take those lessons, and move forward and become a better athlete, a better person, which I believe overall I'm definitely becoming, and it can only get better. I'm taking it very, very seriously now. The most that I have in my whole career, and it's going to show because on fight night, you're definitely going to see the best version of me for sure.
Me and you have spoken many, many times over the past couple of years about how for a lot of people, the I would say until the UFC return, but I would say more so now, the thing that they remembered was the Khalil injury, right? Which was your lowest moment of your career. And of course, the comeback story was phenomenal. But then when you come back, people go, oh, I remember that guy from the Khalil injury. I feel like this win streak has started to, and I know that you had the Zach Pauga fight, which for you, there was a lot of going back to the apex and putting that in the past. I feel like this win streak has finally been the part where that does feel firmly in the past. It feels like we're watching a new version of you. And I think that potentially the training with Tom and those guys is another big part of it. That's a huge narrative in your career now that means that there's something else that people are associating with your success rather than just the comeback, which is still an integral part of your story, of course. But does that feel like that to you at all, in that this winning streak has been the moment where the past has properly stayed in the past this time?
Yeah, well, I think people are finally starting to take notice. Before when you're coming back, like even then when I posted the video up just recently, people were still talking more like I say about the knee injury and saying that this guy will never come back. I'm like, well, did you watch the whole video about me? About I think now people are, like I say, starting to take notice. They're starting to realize that I mean business. I'm not just here. And essentially, I still feel like the comeback story is still being written. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, yeah, if people want to put emphasis on that, they can, because ultimately that can inspire and motivate people, who are sort of down in the dumps, or they've had a bad turn in their careers, that they also have the power to change their stars and make things happen. So you know I think this is just part of the whole process and the whole story. I feel like I said, it's still being written. I know that's obviously well in the back seat in terms of in the rear view mirror, in terms of my past, but it's still a massive part of me in terms of going forward, because when people do see me doing well, they're gonna always revert back to that and think, oh my lord, look at what this guy's managed to do. And like I said, there's plenty more to be done, and that for me is just exciting, and that for me is very motivating for myself, just to continue this streak going and continuing the comeback story, because when it's all said and done, at the end of my career, people are going to see that story of resilience and perseverance, and that's going to be a massive factor into how I can impact the world in a positive way, to show people that no matter what the setback, you can make things happen.
Have you ever had, and like, there's a chance where this is just not, doesn't go anywhere, but have you ever had people, fighters who are going through tough moments, reach out to you to kind of speak about that? Because it's a huge moment for a person who's in the UFC to be cut, right? You hear people talk about it all the time. It's most fighters' dreams to compete in the UFC. So having that taken away, and there's no guarantee that you're going to make it back. And if you do, it's going to be a long road. To do it when you had that combined with the injury is like, not only is a long road back, you don't know what that road looks like when that road starts. Like it's two what could be two huge career defining moments happening to you at the same time, which you've
Yeah.
overcome. And I would imagine that for a lot of fighters who find themselves in positions where they don't know what their road ahead looks like, paths like yours are inspirational because not only did you do it, but you've now become, this wasn't a quick comeback and look at what I've done. You're still in the UFC, kind of rewriting the story every single fight.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've definitely had people message me and sort of reach out to me, and I always take the time to speak to these people because like essentially, if my story can help them, then this is all for the better. This is all for helping everyone essentially. Do you know what I mean? And especially guys who have had knee injuries, they'll constantly get asked like, what type of knee injury did you have? Like how, like what did you do, and stuff like this. And ultimately, it goes back to the same boring answers, which is just like I say, persistence with your recovery, making sure you do your physio, and ultimately believing in yourself because. Without belief in yourself, you're never going to achieve anything. I've had so many people doubting me and saying this and saying that, and you kind of almost just got to use that as fuel. So the fact that I can give advice to these people, it's mad because I always used to look up to like the older guys, and I was like the young guy. And now that sort of the tables are turned, now it's me giving advice to the younger to the younger generation. And for me, that's an amazing feeling for me to be able to give my advice and to help other people and to see them like really take it on board, and to see people like I say coming back and rewriting their own stories. So it's just like I say, it's just amazing and heartwarming that I'm able to help them out while still also obviously carrying on the rest of my story. And like I say, long may it continue. There's many more things that I'm going to do, and I'm sure there'll be more advice that I can give. And I've made a hell of a load of mistakes, but if I can help the younger generation not to make those same mistakes, and to move forward and grow themselves, even guys in the gym that I see that are that are coming up, and they're younger. Seeing them like want to chat to me and pick my brain. Like I say, I take that role on like fully. I take that role on with my full heart and my full soul. Just to try and help them out as much as possible. Just because I know so many people have helped me out in my career. So now the fact that I'm able to give back is definitely an incredible feeling for sure.
When you talk about proving people wrong, I know that you've spoken about this already, so we'll only briefly touch on it. But
Yeah.
the reaction to the win over Kutalaba, I know the commentary team in particular were pretty critical of the result. They felt like Kutalaba deserved the win, and I know that you've already given your thoughts on it. But now that you've had some kind of more time to reflect on it, is there anything you take away from that, and kind of any lasting impressions from that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just got, essentially pull the trigger more and do more of the things that I do best. When you're fighting a guy as intense as Kutalaba, a guy that, again, it's on your journey towards the top 15, a guy who comes out very aggressive and stuff like this. You gotta take your time with that guy. You can't go rushing in because you're going to get caught with a punch. You know what I mean? I could have went a lot more reckless, and then I would have got caught with a punch, and then all they remember is him winning. So I had to play a very strategic game. Yeah, I had a lot of criticism from that fight, but if you look at the effectiveness of the strikes that were thrown, you can definitely say that was tilted way more into my favor than it was to his. And it doesn't matter. There's other fighters that have had decisions that have gone their way, and people thought that they didn't win, but they're still going on to do amazing things, and it just fuels them and drives them to train harder, to fix the errors, and to make better performances in the future. So yeah, it wasn't my best performance. I definitely still feel I got the win. It was a very close fight. Obviously, the 30-27 scorecards going either way was a bit weird. I definitely felt it would have been a 29-28 to myself. That would have made more sense. And wherever you pick it, I take it as the more people are talking about it, the better, because then, either they want to see you win or they want to see you lose. But either way, they're watching. So for me, that's a good thing. Whether it increases my popularity in a good or bad way, let them keep watching, because I just use it as motivation and fuel to improve my skill sets as an athlete. So yeah, mate. Like I say, it was actually as much of a negative as it seemed at the time, getting such responses. There was still many positive responses. Like, even if you look at it, it was still a 50-50. There was 50-50 of people saying that, oh yeah, it was a good win and he won, and people going the other way. So all that matters is a result, and I got the result. So you can only take that now to improve yourself, go forward, and bring on better performances, which is what I am ready and set to go and do.
Let's shift gears a little bit to talk about your training partner, Tom Aspinall's next fight that is finally confirmed after a long old time of waiting. He's going to be facing Ciryl Gane at UFC 321, defending the undisputed heavyweight title at long last. Me and you have spoken in the past about how difficult it is to kind of not have a goal in sight when you're waiting for a UFC fight to be announced. And I feel like Tom has done a really good job from the outside looking in of keeping himself busy and focusing on what he can control rather than what he can't ahead of this fight. When you look at the matchup with Ciryl Gane, these guys have got a little bit of history. It feels like this one was overdue to some extent. When you look at it, when this matchup was announced, all of those things, what was your initial thoughts on them two finally coming together?
I thought, obviously, it was the fight that made most sense, because obviously he fought for the number one contender spot with Volkov. Obviously, Tom and Volkov have already fought, and although the decision, like I say, many people thought Volkov won. Ultimately, again, same thing. Gon got the victory, so it just made sense. You know what I mean? And I feel like Tom knew that was a fight that was going to happen at some point, anyways. And now it's come to fruition, and now they're fighting for the undisputed title. So yeah, like I say, it just made sense. I think he knew that fight was probably looming at some point. I don't know if they had any negotiations in the past to have that fight made, but now it's finally here, and yeah, finally Tom can go out there and put on the performances of his life, because I know how much he's been wanting to fight, having to be on the sidelines for such a long time, but being on the sidelines whilst also training, improving, getting better, still focusing on his diet, recovery, strength, stuff like this. So he's just become even better. This is what's so scary, is that over the course of time, that that he hasn't been fighting, all he's been doing is improving. He's been helping me, he's been helping all the others, and that's just helps himself. And now he finally gets, like, when he gets in there, I know he's going to be firing on all cylinders, because he's been waiting so long for this opportunity, and yeah, and rightly so, as the undisputed heavyweight champion. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I think the reason so many people want to see this one, and the reason it's been spoken about for so long between these two guys, is that neither of them kind of really fight like heavyweights, even though they're two of the best heavyweights in the world. It's such an interesting style matchup for a heavyweight title fight, right? Because if you matched Tom or Ciryl against any of the other guys in this division, I would say maybe Volkov is a little bit similar in some ways, but not the same in terms of his athletic ability and movement and things like that. When you look at Tom's skill set versus Cyryl's, how do you think they match up? Because I think a lot of people would say that they are similar in some ways, but I would say that there's probably some big differences between them also.
Oh yeah, there are definitely some big differences. I mean, Tom, for starters, is just an all-around mixed martial artist, an all-around athlete. People often underestimate his speed, his timing, his boxing, his fight IQ. I mean, literally, if you're looking at the full package for a heavyweight, title, for a heavyweight champion, that is like the perfect guy, really. Ciryl Gane definitely he's got flamboyant striking himself. But Tom, like I say, is the full package. He's got everything on his side. He's definitely been taking everything very seriously. All he's been focusing on is fighting. So just that increased hunger of as well, just wanting to get back in there because it's been such a long time. But he's just been training and just been improving. So, I mean, my boy Tom, like honestly, he's on another level, and I know he's definitely going to show that when they meet in the octagon for sure.
This is something I've asked you about before, so apologies for revisiting it, but I think it's important. A huge talking point amongst the Tom versus John argument. A lot of people, specifically on John's point of view, were arguing that if John was going to beat him, it would be because he has more experience. We frankly just haven't seen what Tom looks like in the later rounds, and because of that, it's led to a lot of questioning of can he fight that way in the later rounds. There's also been questions about how his grappling would match up, because again, we just haven't seen him do a lot of it, even though we've seen him be very successful with it. You have trained with Tom Aspinall, and I know that when I asked you this in the past, you were like, "It's nonsense that he can't fight into later rounds. He trains for 5 rounds, and has been training for 5 round fights for the last however many years." But from your perspective, how do you expect Tom to answer some of those questions that people had about the John fight that I think people will take over into this Ciryl fight as well, especially maybe not so much in the grappling, I would say. I don't think Cyryl's as much of a threat there as John would have been, but Ciryl has fought 5 rounds multiple times in the UFC. There is a chance that this one goes a little bit later than some of Tom's earlier fights.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Tom catches him early, and then again, people are going to still be talking
Yeah.
the same thing, anyways. Joe, I'm saying so. Again, just because I feel like Tom really steps up to the plate when he's under the bright lights, and he always shows up. And when he lands that absolute piston of a right hand, I don't think many heavyweights can take that. I don't think. I mean, honestly, the punching power and timing and accuracy is just on another level. So people often overlook that. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't think for 1 second that this guy does not train like 5 rounds and more. Like he's doing all the groundwork. He's he's making himself prepared. Like I just think it's hilarious when people say, "Oh, well, we don't know how his gas tank is going to." Like, well, why the hell does he need to test himself in that area when, like I say, he lands the shots in the perfect timing and he gets it going? He has never looked fatigued ever in his career. Even when he fought Orlovsky and he went into the second round, he went on a massive flurry in one point and he still managed to compose himself and like I say, get the finish in the second round. So when people say that you can't go for 5 rounds, I mean, keep believing that, because like I say, when he goes out and shows it, people are then going to completely change their opinions. But me personally, I just know that he's just so explosive and so like got such a higher fight IQ that he will land that shot earlier. And like I say, people are still going to be talking, but that's fine because that doesn't concern him as long as he keeps finishing fights. Why does he need, you don't need to be in there for longer than you need to. So and that's something that I take inspiration from. Like, why do you want to go in there and fight, 3 to 5 rounds when you can get it done earlier? And if that's the case, you can get the paycheck and move on. But he's obviously still training incredibly hard, making sure that he can go this 5 rounds. He's an absolute cardio beast. So yeah, let people keep thinking those things, because ultimately, if it does get down to the nitty gritty, I know he's got what it takes to go into those later rounds.
The last thing I want to ask you about, another part of that team in recent years who's fighting on the same card as you is Ante
Yep.
Delia, who's going to be making
Yep.
his UFC debut. Straight in at the deep end, facing Marcin Tybura, who has fought Tom in the past, recently fought Mick as well. So very experienced heavyweight, and clearly shows that the UFC think that Ante can come in and make an immediate impact. What can people? I think most people will be familiar with him from his PFL career and some
Yep.
other fights on the European scene. But for people who aren't too familiar, what can they expect from Ante Delia? What do you expect him to be able to go and do in the UFC?
I expect him to go out there and put on a show, man. Like, he's extremely explosive. He's got a good skill set, so I've seen him improve massively over the course of the months that he's been training with us up north. Again, being around high level athletes like Tom, myself, and Pavel, and like these other great guys that continues to train with us. He only again this time out for him, he's just been improving and getting better. And like I say, obviously this is a big moment for him because UFC is the ultimate goal for any athlete. He's had a hell of a run in the PFL, being the world champion as well. So he's got that championship experience. That's why he's getting thrown, as you say, into the deep end straight away with a ranked opponent. But I definitely feel like he's going to step up to the plate. I mean, the way he fights, he just brings the utmost intensity and ferocity, and I feel like his attributes will outweigh those of Tabora. And I'm looking forward to it because I'm very excited for him. I've been training with him for a while. Great guy, I just can't wait for him to go on to go on and put on the performance of his life on his biggest stage.
Yeah, that Paris card is looking pretty fantastic. I know that they just added Saint Denis versus
Yeah,
Mauricio Rufy. That looks like it's going to be a banger. So
yeah,
stoked for this event, mate. Stoked for you to get back out there. Ante as well. Looks to be a great night. I appreciate your time as always, my man. I'm sure
no
we'll
worries.
catch up sometime soon. But until then, all the best for UFC Paris.
All right, thank you so much, my brother. Always amazing talking to you. And get ready for all of us to throw down and put on a show for the fans. It's going to be a great night in Paris for sure.